started driving a little early.
Well,
Farm.
a lot earlier, when picking up bales with a 5-ton truck, Dad would put it in gear and I just idle it down the fields while they're throwing their bales on. And that's where that started. And then he would drove truck, so I'd go with him when I was a kid.
Oh, so your dad was a truck driver as well?
Yeah.
And is that what kind of led you to become a truck driver?
Yeah, that kind of got into and I liked the trucks and I just kept going from there. First truck, diesel truck, that had 100 horsepower, and we thought that was big power. If you were doing 50, 60 mile an hour, you were doing good. Now the trucks today, like if I had to go back and drive an older truck, 'cause the way these trucks are built today, Jesus, I don't think I'd want to get back into one. I miss the old days because everybody was looked out for each other more than they do today as drivers. And
we did talk about it a little bit. I think Kevin said you've been here since '09.
Yeah.
How's your east-west experience been?
Actually, east-west, been great. I mean, the boys like Tim, Lance, and Daryl, and they grew up in the industry, and Tim and Daryl drove truck, and so they know the industry pretty good, and they're actually good bosses, and they understand when you're on the road, things do change out there, and some days you get frustrated, and they're pretty understanding, and they'll work with you. So that makes a big difference. And it's nice to see the bosses work alongside of you too. It doesn't seem much, but to me that means a lot. That's nice to see a boss do that and work with, and not just on the road, even here in you'll go on the dock, load trailers, shunt trailer, and all three of them are that way.
Can you speak a little to the camaraderie of your fellow drivers and
Most of the drivers I worked with, they're all pretty well gone. Good bunch. And they'd give their shirt off their backs. They would help anybody. Didn't matter if it was a car that was broke down. They would stop and help. You don't see that today. I like being in the open space. Free. You feel free. You hear a guy riding a bike. Freedom, feel free. Same thing with trucking. Well, I miss the truck guy. I love driving them trucks. You can pay. At my age now, if I had to do it, it wouldn't be for the money. It'd be for the feel of the truck and just going down the road. Actually, I'm gonna miss it all. I mean, I traveled all over North America. I traveled in the States for years. I run Alaska. Territories. Well, for one, if you're not sure what you're doing, ask somebody that's got experience. I kind of agree with what the government's trying to do, trying to graduate guys into the business. Like I started. My father and the old guys were the hardest bunch to please. I mean, they were picky. But they wouldn't put me behind a truck and trailer off the bat. You have to start from the bottom and work your way up. And if they were satisfied with what you were doing, then they would pump you up. I would ask them, when are you putting me in the truck and trailer? Well, we think you're ready. And they were real big on safety. When you start pushing it, you got to know your limits. And that a lot of these guys on the road are pushing it, not listening to themselves. You're tired? You pull the truck off, you go to sleep. Simple. And if you're going to be a little late, I know east-west here, most of the companies I work for, you're running a little late, you phone in, you tell them, not a problem, they'll get a hold of the customers, or vice versa, I'd get a hold of them and explain what's going on. I never had an issue. Pay attention to what you're doing, read all the signs that you come across, because them signs will help you. And if you're not sure, and you're on the roads you're on, slow down. Don't cost anything to do that.
Emile, for the most part, was very, very dependable. He would always show up. Emile wasn't really one driver to say no. He's worked here, like he said, I think for 14 years and many years for other companies. So we were happy to have him on board, and going to be very sad to see him go, along with a couple others. But it's the way of the future, and we're not going to change it.
There's a driver loves what he does, and that the aptitude is there, and certainly a person like Emile, it was his whole life. So we were always appreciative of the fact that when a driver would come along that had a history in trucking, that normally they were professionals and they did their work in a way that they loved what they were doing. And unfortunately, people like Emile are farther and harder to find now.